Sports Minutes with Ziaul Raushan.
Money FM 89.3. It's time for Sports Minutes with me, Ziaul Raushan. The usual Monday episode in the company of Deepanraj Ganesan, and boy, do we have a bumper show lined up for you. We'll be looking back on the two games in the Singapore Cup, looking ahead to the Sailors' mammoth assignment in Sanfrecce, and getting you up to speed with the Women's Premier League results, which kicked off this past weekend. Only one place to start though, and that's the Singapore Cup. The first game saw the Young Lions with a shock 3-0 victory over Hougang United. 10-man Hougang, mind you, who had Zaiful Nizam sent off in the first half. Before I get deep in thoughts, let's hear from Robert Iziako post-match.
First and foremost, I would like to congratulate Young Lion for the good game. I mean, they deserve everything. We didn't deserve. It's quite shameful for us to put up this kind of performance. It's not up to the mark, and such a disgrace for the red card. I think it's such a disgrace for a senior team to commit this kind of offense. I do not condone this and I condemn this, all kind of everything. I think we owe a big apologies to all the Hougang fans and the members. Obviously, we need to work on our attitude. I think our attitude is not good at all when we're approaching the game. I think we are approaching the game with a very bad attitude. We need to correct our attitude. Of course, we also need to work on the defense part.
There you have it, Robert Iziako sharing his thoughts post-match. Deepan, I hope you can be as damning in your assessment. Let's talk about Zaiful Nizam sending off first. Pretty shocking for a senior goalkeeper to be acting out like that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that Robert Iziako called him out on that, because I think far too often you have managers and coaches who shy away from talking about these things. But it was quite clear. It was a kick out, a deserved red card. And you question why a player of that stature or a player of that seniority is doing that, because no reason to do it. It's not like he was provoked. It just seemed like Raul Suhaimi was who happened to go for the ball and sort of set on his leg, and it was a kick out by Zaiful. So it goes back to what Robert is saying as well about the attitude of the team. You know, were they complacent going into the game? Were they triggered by the fact that Young Lions had gotten 1-0 up at that point? But it's always alarming when your head coach comes out post-match to question your attitude, and that's what he did here. So the Hougang players only need to look at themselves in the mirror. Second game in a row where they've gone down a man to a red card. So, and both senior players, so Zulfahmi in the previous week and Zaiful here. So yeah, you know, it's well and good to start off the Iziako reign with some victories, and they looked good. But if your attitude is not right, it's only about time when it catches up with you, and it's on display here. And you know, the funny thing is, I think last week when they drew against the Young Lions, and I busted out that line about how for a professional team to not be able to win the Young Lions is always not great. And then the following week they go down 3-0. So you know, it's alarm bells here. Even though it's one defeat, but 3-0 against the Young Lions is simply not good enough if you're a professional side.
Surely you should have said Robert's reign or Iziako's era. But we talk about this troubling patch of form for Robert Iziako, right? Does he have the tools to turn it around? Because like you say, he started off brightly with 3 consecutive victories, then he's hit a bit of a speed bump. If he's questioning discipline, attitude, does he have enough? Because next up for Hougang is the Lion City Sailors.
Yeah, I mean, it's very quick games now happening. I think losing their centre-back Mugosa was a big blow for them. I gather it's a season-ending injury. I thought he and Daniel Alimau seemed to have a good partnership at the back, so now that's gone. And I think they really now need to rely on getting the goals in the game. So it's quite puzzling that they weren't able to get even one goal against the Young Lions. But of course, going down to 10 men doesn't help. You're right. I mean, they really got to go back to basics now. Really try to find a way back into positive results, but it's going to be hard. At the end of the day, he can only work with what he has. I think that he has a good enough squad to get better results than a 3-0 against Young Lions.
Speaking of working with what he has, Coach Fatzu is doing just that at the Young Lions. They continue to build on the promise shown in 2024 and going strength to strength in 2025. Surely he needs to be part of the conversation for managing that SEA Games squad now.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's shown enough in this Young Lions spell to warrant a discussion on whether he should be there. But I still feel, at the end of the day, he needs to be the best person for the job. You've got to keep in mind that at the end of the day, there are 3 Japanese players starting for this Young Lions team, 3 Japanese players that will not be part of the SEA Games team. So you've got to get a coach who really is able to get the best out of the local players. But at the moment, you have to say that Coach Fatzu is doing that. I like the addition of Bill Mamadou. I think it gives them solidity at the back. I've waited for a long time for Bill to get some game time with the Lion City Sailors, and with the form that Ryan Sanizal is showing, adding Bill Mamadou there, with Jun Kobayashi showing a bit of form. I wouldn't say he warrants a starting place at the moment. But I think good news for the young Lions and for possibly Singapore football, because I've long felt that Ryan Sanizal deserves more of a mention. I thought he had a bit of a patchy form early in the season, but right now he's showing that he's one of the best local defenders at the moment.
Yeah, when we talk about timing, it's all about peaking at the right time, and it seems Ryan Sanizal has chosen a right time to peak. Long may it continue for Singapore football. Let's move it on to the second game of the weekend. Balste Khalsa losing 2-1 to 10-man BG Patum. One man down, but no problem for BG Patum, who maintained their unbeaten run in the Singapore Cup. But before we talk about the result, it's the refereeing that's left you upset once again. For those of you who are not caught up, let's have a listen of the commentary in terms of what went down during that sending off.
He was quick though, you've got to give a lot of credit to how fast he was, Konai Tanaka, to put pressure.
He had cover there. Yong Hyung was on the cover as well. Can't be the last man, can't be goal scoring opportunity there.
He is dishing out the red card. Latawa is going off. Well, that is a big call. That's a potential match-changing call.
Once again, that commentary coming to us from the Singapore Cup broadcast team. Deepan, simple question to you. Dokso meh?
Yeah, I think Shasi on comms was right there. It's not a denial of goal scoring opportunity. It was not the last man. There were at least two covering defenders. So it really boggles my mind. I think at this point you can just clip out stuff that I've said about refereeing in the Singapore Premier League from previous weeks to play it every week now, because every week we are getting some strange decisions, and what really makes me confused is the fact that on-field decision was a yellow card, which is in my mind a correct one, and then the VAR team intervenes thinking that it's an error. So that's already confusing. Why a bunch of guys in the room are thinking that this is a wrong decision, should be a red card, when you can clearly see they're covering defenders there. Okay, so the referee goes to the monitor to take a look, and he sees the same thing that he saw just a few minutes ago, that there are covering defenders, because it's not like it's something that he would have missed on field, right? It's the same thing he is seeing in terms of covering defenders. So why then change your mind just because someone sent you to the monitor? It shouldn't be that way. I mean, if you've made the right decision, stick to it. And I think you even saw Iksan tweeting about it, right? I mean, yes, of course he's biased in the sense that he is a BG Patum player, but it just boggles my mind. And even going back to the first goal, you can't bring it back because it's not a foul per se, but the referee getting caught in the middle of the action and then blocking off a BG Patum player. I mean, great midfield work from him, but these are things that should be avoided. I mean, if you know what's happening in the game, if you have a good reading of the game, then that shouldn't happen. So again, a lot of things for the referees to work on, and it's just not good enough.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's a case of rinse and repeat in terms of the soundbites you're providing on refereeing, as well as the standards of refereeing. Let's not go down that road. Let's talk about the football. BG Patum are now top of Group B, 2 wins, 1 draw thus far. And they seem to be sending out a B team, I dare say C team as well. But it's just that they are a few levels higher than everybody else. Are they then just clear favourites to make it all the way to the final, possibly against, I guess, Lion City Sailors?
Yeah, I won't be surprised when it gets to the semi-final stage where they bring out the big guns to Singapore. But at the moment, I can only talk about them with respect, because they played a game a day earlier, and some of those who played in that game played in this one as well. So yeah, very, very surprised to see that Balestier couldn't do more. But I mean, I think context is important. I think they're missing a lot of important players at the moment. It's almost like a Spurs situation here where a lot of the players are going down with muscle injuries. So maybe a case of giving too much early in the season, and they're dropping like flies at the moment, because even in the game itself there were a few players going down with cramps and whatnot. So they started this game without Koza and without Sujita, and then during the game itself Anton Faseh got injured, and it seemed like a hamstring injury as well. I know hamstring injuries, you don't come back from them the following week. So troubling times for Balestier now, because they are only as good as their foreigners, and if 3 of them are out of the picture, then you really worry for them.
Yeah, absolutely right. It is troubling times. That's were the 2 games that happened in the Singapore Cup this past weekend. There was scheduled to be a third game between Geylang International and the Lion City Sailors, but both those clubs came to an agreement to postpone that game because the Sailors have travelled to Sanfrecce Hiroshima for that huge encounter against Sanfrecce Hiroshima. How big is this game going to be, Deepan?
Yeah, huge game. At the end of the day, this is a Singaporean team playing a Japanese league side, so it's not going to be easy at all. In fact, I expect a very difficult time for the Lion City Sailors, but we have seen the Lion City Sailors sort of upset the odds a few times in the past few years in the ACL campaign. I mean, not just this year, those games against the Korean teams, but the matches against the Japanese teams are always a step higher. I'm sure this is the toughest test yet, toughest test this season for sure. So it's really on the game day, how they turn up, how they're able to, or rather how Rankovic is able to tactically set them up in a way where they limit their opposition chances, and also able to get 1 or 2 chances the other way and make them count.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sanfrecce are a team in form. So are the Sailors, but Sanfrecce are joint top after 4 games. They've won 3, drawn 1 game, so they're on 10 points alongside 2 other teams. The Lion City Sailors team in form. In fact, I don't think they've lost a game in 2025 yet. So again, a fascinating battle awaits. You talk about tactically how Rankovic is going to set this team up, right? Before we talk tactics, how much of this is damage limitation to keep it alive, because it is a two-legged encounter?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the last thing you want is to have a result in Japan that practically rules you out of the running, and I think that's what they need to do. They need to keep it tight at the back, ensure that when they have possession, they keep the ball well and not rush forward. You see the game against Muang Thong. I think when they got the ball forward, they were quite direct in getting in behind the Muang Thong defense. I don't think they'll do the same thing here. I think they'll try to keep the ball a bit more, and that's where the midfield comes into the equation. Your Rui Perez, your Haris, your Hamis, whoever plays in the midfield, they are the most important players in this game.
Let's talk about player selection. You talk about tactics. It seems to me that Ranko has found his perfect 11. In most matches, he puts out that same 11. But one position that perhaps is a point of contention for Alexander Rankovic is, will it be Shawal Anwar or Leonard T who starts up top?
Yeah, I think based on current form, I would expect Shawal to start. Also because he gives Sanfrecce something to think about in terms of his ability to run in behind, his ability to link up play as well. So I expect him to start. But, if you're Sanfrecce and you see who they have at the back, the kind of players that they have, experienced players that they have, I think they've got 2 former Japan internationals at the back, a lot of experience. A bit on the older side though. I think they're on the 35, 36 kind of age range. So maybe Shawal is able to sort of get the better of them in terms of his pace. I think that's the possible outlet. Maybe I'm being a bit too positive here, but I mean, this is what they are against. One of my favorite players in recent times, the A-League, has moved on to Sanfrecce. Is that Tolga Aslan, former German under-21 international, has played in Udinese before. He was at Melbourne City, very good player. He likes to make that late runs into the box from the number 10 position. So a player that really the Lion City Sailors need to look out for. Besides that, Hayao Kawabe, he's of course had experience in Europe. I think he's played for Grasshoppers in Switzerland and in Belgium with Standard Liège. So comes with a lot of pedigree. He plays in a 6-8 role. So again, that midfield battle is really, really key here, because with Tolga Aslan and Kawabe in the middle of the park, you're playing against real quality. Real quality. It's not your no offense, not your Young Lions or Balestier Khalsas here. This is the real quality. But if the Lion City Sailors want to make history, these are the kind of players you got to play against.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quality match on show there. Thank you, Deepan, for getting us up to speed in terms of the Sanfrecce angle. Quick question on the Lion City Sailors. I was alongside you at the Bishan Stadium when the Sailors took on BG Tampines Rovers, and every time Haris Harun touched the ball, you were going, ooh, ah, wow. And I banned you from saying the word vintage and Rolls Royce, right? But that's exactly what he's proving, right? Vintage Rolls Royce. Because let's be honest, he had a shaky tournament for Singapore. He's almost reinvented himself, I dare say.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's very easy to hit a player when he's on the down, right? And that's what, in a way, Haris was in a lot of the Singapore national team matches. He almost became someone where when he came on, you could see that he was a bit off the pace. But I think he's redeemed himself. And sometimes when players have good form, you should highlight that as well. So I think we highlighted Anu a few weeks back, and Haris has done the same. And he was up against some formidable opposition in the sense of, with Glenn Quay, he can easily get past Haris with pace. But Haris' positioning was great. He was winning a lot of the duels, a lot of the 50-50. So great to see in that right centre-back spot. I'm not sure if he starts in this ACL 2. I think the team sort of picks itself. I would expect that, especially with Bailey Wright, Tony Darkovic if he's fit, they get the nod here. I guess the right centre-back spot is really between Haris and Lionel. But we all know what experience Haris has. ACL experience, AFC Cup experience. He's played in these games countless of times. So if I were Rankovic, I would start him in the right centre-back spot. But let's see what they go for.
I'm going to throw out an old cliche: form is temporary, class is permanent. As a fan of Singapore football, even if Haris is winding down his career, you want to see him wind it down with his head held high. So long may it continue. The Sailors are hosting a special watch party for the away leg. Tickets are also on sale for the March 12th encounter at the Jalan Besar Stadium. 8 p.m. that's happening. Head over to the Lion City Sailors social media channels to check out how you can get some tickets for that one. Quickly rounding up the Women's Premier League results this past weekend. Balestier Khalsa losing 4-0 to Tanjong Pagar United. Still Aryan Women's Football Club and BG Tampines Rovers playing out a 2-2 draw. This weekend again, the Women's Premier League continues. Hougang United take on Geylang International and Albrechts Niigata take on the reigning champions, the Lion City Sailors. I sat down down with Geylang International's coach Ratna and Farah. Be sure to check out the Sports Minutes playlist to get up to speed with the Women's Premier League. In the meantime, Deepan, till the next one, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sports Minutes on Money FM 89.3.